What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Celtics Journal podcast. If you're a regular listener, welcome back, and thank you for your support. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the hottest names on the Celtics roster: Evan Fournier, Robert Williams, and Romeo Langford. And then we're also going to dive into some of the games we're playing this week. Let's get started. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing good. I'm happy to be back after missing last week.
It's good to have you back. Did you get a chance to listen to the show?
Of course. You guys did a great job. It's good to have Mike on the pod to replace me.
Yeah, it's always good to have him on, and hopefully we can get him back soon. Did you watch the game last night against the Hornets?
Yes, they look incredible, both sides of the ball, whole time.
Yeah, I mean, not too much of a consolation because they didn't have Gordon Hayward, but I really did like how we played.
Yeah, it was still a great win, but I am fully back on board after being down when they lost to the Pelicans and the Mavs.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a little discouraging though that we've won 4 of our last 6, but they've kind of come against some pretty poor teams, and then our losses have come against the ones we wish we could have won.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it, but 4 of your last 6 isn't bad. It was just how they lost those 2 that was discouraging. But on big picture, it hasn't been too bad since the trade deadline at all.
Yeah, Evan Fournier is one of the main reasons for that, and I think in his first game he was awful actually.
Yeah, historically bad.
Yeah, Celtics Twitter was ready to hang Danny Ainge at the stake.
Yeah, people react way too.
Yeah,
people react too quickly. I mean, the guys, he ended up flying to OKC. The guy's probably exhausted. Has never really met these guys or played with them, and then he has a bad game, and everybody's crucifying him for no justifiable reason. And now we're seeing him get his legs under him, and he's great. Go figure.
Well, didn't he fly to Boston, and then they told him he could fly to OKC, and then when he got there, he got a positive test, so they sent him back to Boston, and then when he got back, it was a negative test.
Yeah, so, he was all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place, never got to practice. I mean, no one's practicing right now, but
yeah.
The fact that he had literally no time to get adjusted, and he had one bad game after playing like 25 minutes.
Yeah, no one cares about that, though. There are even deeper reasons on why he wasn't playing well in that first one, just like his personal style of play. But I want to get into that once we get going on him. Once we dive in.
Let's dive in right now.
All right. So the biggest problem that I had when he got here, and he had a terrible game. Like, he should have been better. Don't get me wrong. He missed like a layup on a fast break. He played very poorly, just for anybody coming off the street there. But this is a guy who doesn't have elite athleticism, but is a really talented shooter and a very smart player. But he can't create his own shot. He's not the ball handler like that. Like, he just doesn't have the ability to do it. So when the Celtics have him and they're not running any actions for him, he's not going to be very good. He has to have somebody help him get enough space to breathe and knock down that shot. And so things like handoffs, curls, pin downs, pick and rolls, pick and pops, all fantastic for him.
Yep.
And they didn't run a single one of them. And that first game is why he was so bad. And then you can see, like every game after that, he's gotten progressively better as the Celtics learn how to play with him.
Yeah, ball movement has been creating wide open shots for him. Like
it's incredible.
He's had at least 3 feet of space for the majority of his threes that he's been taking. And do you have the number in front of you? What his 3-point percentage has been in the last like 2 or 3 games?
Yeah,
since that really bad game.
Since he was over 10, he's been shooting 61% from 3. At one point, hitting 10 in a row, which ended against the Hornets. It was close to being 9 in a row, but his foot was on the line on that bit.
Yeah.
So 10 in a row, reached double digits. He's been awesome. And I think it's great. I think people were way too quick, and now they've completely flipped into thinking that he's exactly what the Celtics needed, and he was that when they got him. It's just he was set up. You couldn't have been set up worse.
Yeah.
When he started off with the Celtics, but I do.
But when you put it into context, I mean, you kind of would expect that
Yeah, it makes
I always expect the first game for a new acquisition to not really play that well, just to get adjusted, get some shots up. If you miss them, sure, at least you're taking shots for the team.
yeah. My guess was that he was going to be bad, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think he was going to be that bad. I'm not going to act like I was
Mm-hmm.
100% right.
Yeah, I was disappointed, but I mean, I knew that it was going to get better.
Yeah, it's not like the first two games that he played were bad, and then the second
Mm-hmm.
two games were great, and those aren't arbitrary. It's a
Mm-hmm.
progression of him getting better as time goes on. But
Yeah, and you go ahead.
I was just going to go into how I think they should use him when the offense stagnates. Unless
Oh
you
yeah, that's perfect. Mm-hmm.
okay. So as we know, the Celtics this year have been incredibly frustrating when the Jays or Kemba try to play hero ball and I can't really blame them because whenever they get into the teeth of the defense and they kick it out to somebody, they do all this work to create an open shot. They're kicking it to people that can't hit it.
Mm-hmm.
So I get why they do it, but it's really annoying. Evan Fournier helps that a ton. At the very least, he's a guy they can kick it out to, who will knock down a shot, so they don't get exhausted
Yep.
or frustrated and just go back and revert back to being these hero ball ISO guys. But
Yeah, I'm really excited to have that on the team.
yeah, it's going to
Like
make them
we
so
haven't
much
had
better.
that yet.
Yeah, we haven't had
We
a guy like this.
like we have our our Grant Williams or Aaron Nesmith, like the guys that should be making these shots, and I mean Grant does it as a decent option,
Yeah,
but like we don't have that guy that we're like, oh, yep, that's a bucket.
absolutely, 100%. Grant's
Mm-hmm.
done a pretty good job this year, except like he's just a stretch player. Like he's not supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be that
No.
knockdown sniper that you can rely on
Mm-hmm.
game in game out. But Fournier
It'd be
adds
nice.
that. But in the event that the Celtics do revert back to that kind of play style, which they did against the Pelicans and the Mavs on numerous occasions, um, I think their first action on offense should be through Evan Fournier.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, Talking about play style for a second.
Mhm.
When we were talking about the Hornets game, you had mentioned how off air we were talking about it, and you had said that we kind of reverted back to this like sniping mentality, like we have to fire up 30 40 threes a game, when the Hornets don't really have a center. Like what do you think about the play style that we had yesterday? And it worked, but would that work against other teams?
Yeah, I think that was a little bit weird. It seemed counterintuitive towards what their personnel was.
Yeah,
Um,
it just seemed like we should have attacked the basket a little bit more.
yeah, it does, and that was kind of a high risk deal for us,
Mm-hmm.
but we have put a significant emphasis on shooting the three since the All Star break.
Yeah.
We jumped from 22nd in the league in points or in 3-point attempts per game all the way up to fourth. It's not like it's a conceded effort to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But and what they've been doing a lot of the time, what they did against the Mavs was like a 5 out, where all five
Mm-hmm.
players were out on the perimeter a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Against against the Hornets, we used a 4 out where they put Rob down on the post or high post and let him kind of go to work and collapse the defense because they do have to pay attention to him because he's improved so much as a finisher
Mm-hmm.
and as a passer. That's why they did it, and why they trust him with the ball down there so that he can be down there, collapse the defense, and kick it out to people who are actually going to hit the shot.
Yeah.
So I like the
I think.
strategy against them.
Yeah. I think at first I was a little bit confused because I wanted to see like more Robert Williams inside and just see that paint presence against a team that could not defend it, and then get more reps in there. But then I kind of thought, well, what if we're just testing out the Utah Jazz strategy and just fire as many threes as we can and see how many stick,
Mm-hmm.
especially with this new kind of like we have a better team to do the whole the old San Antonio Spurs ball movement and then find the best shot. Like we have a team built for that now. I think with Evan Fournier, it sounds weird by only adding one player that we just turned into that team, but I think he's really going to be the key to unlocking this offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just we haven't done anything to prove that we have that ability yet. It's just we now have the tools to do it, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I honestly thought against the Hornets that they were going to use a little bit more Marcus Smart, a little bit more Peyton Pritchard, because I thought they were going to run a lot more pick and roll with Rob to try and get into the defense that way and use his vertical spacing to do a lot more lobs than they did. But they opted to use Rob as a passer and a playmaker, and it worked beautifully. So I didn't expect that, but it worked, and that's why I'm not the
coach. It seems like we keep asking for more Peyton Pritchard, and then sometimes when we get it, we're like, maybe we shouldn't get more, and then we ask for more. So
yeah,
I would like to see a little bit more consistency out of Peyton, because he's a player that I think can be really good for us, but it's a matter of, just like Grant Williams, it's just a matter of finding the right fit for the team and getting that role. And I think Jeff Teague getting off the team really helped him with that. Yeah. But it's now a matter of putting it to work.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny with Jeff Teague coming into the season. It was like, is he going to be good enough to replace what Brad Wanamaker brought to the team? And then both Wanamaker and Jeff Teague got kicked off of their respective teams before the season was even over. So I guess it didn't really matter.
Yeah, but we had been bashing Jeff Teague all week, and then right after we aired the podcast, he scores 26 points.
Yeah, back-to-back incredible games to end his tenure in Boston.
Yeah, which I'm fine with because it helped us out a little bit. I mean, we didn't win our game, and that's the biggest thing. He was that empty player. He'll give you 20 points, but we're not going to win the game.
No, if Jeff Teague is playing like one of your best players, you're not in good shape.
Something is wrong, yeah.
You should have much more to worry about if he's one of your best players. But I wanted to circle back around to something real quick. So we were talking about how the Celtics offense sometimes stands still. And I wanted to run the first action through Evan Fournier, and I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure.
So all the things that I mentioned that help Evan Fournier create his shot, being pin downs, pick and rolls, pick and pops, dribble handoffs, curls, etc. All those things have something in common where they require another person to be involved.
Right.
So if we're just doing this ISO ball, then you give it to Evan Fournier, and you literally have to have someone help him out. So bare minimum 2 people are being involved in that first action. And if he has the opportunity to shoot over the top and score, then that's great. But if not, he can kind of drive into the defense and kick it to one of the Jays that way, so they can kind of catch and make their play or make their decisions going forward off of that when the defense is already moving. So it kind of circumvents the way the Celtics already want to play, or the way that they already want to play offense. So I think that would be perfect.
Yeah. Do you think that Evan Fournier in the starting lineup would help kind of not unlock the offense, but get us to a point where the Jays are comfortable with Evan and they can kind of work off the ball?
I don't think they need to be put in I don't think he needs to be put in the starting lineup for that to happen. I like him coming off the bench. I think his role right now is really good. I just think what they're doing now is staggering the Jays and Kemba with him, because having all 4 of them out there, that would be weird.
Yeah,
I think that would be really clunky.
Yeah, I think it would be best to actually straddle them a little bit and kind of get everybody playing time.
Yeah, so if they can keep doing what they're doing, but have 3 of those 4 guys out there at once instead of all 4, I think that actually serves them better. And that over time, as they all get minutes together, then they'll kind of develop that chemistry. So I'd like it to stay where it is, and I don't think he needs to go to the offensive or to go to the starting lineup.
Truth. I kind of like him in the Tyler Hero role.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, last year in the bubble, when we were playing Miami, we didn't have that Tyler Hero or even the Duncan Robinson player, where they come in and they are that sniper. They're gonna hunt their shot, but they're not the main focal point of the offense. They're not the Jimmy Butler or even the Bam Adebayo. He's gonna come in and he's gonna do his thing and he's gonna get his shots, and that's exactly what Evan Fournier does, and that's what we needed in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So my next question here is, if you replace Evan Fournier, or if you replace Gordon Hayward with Evan Fournier, do we win those Eastern Conference Finals because we have that shooter?
Um, I don't think so.
You still think we lose?
I do. I do think that because I don't think our problem was necessary. Well, it was. They were playing a zone which really gave us a hard time. So
I
yeah,
feel like
if
we would have broken down that zone actually, like with Fournier.
yeah, it's possible, but Hayward is a better player than
He's a
Fournier.
better playmaker. He's all around, honestly, but yeah.
Yeah, so unless you want to make the argument that Hayward trying to force playmaking that wasn't supposed to happen actually hurt the Celtics, then I don't think that we win that series. And yeah, Tyler Hero going off was really annoying because we did a good job stopping a lot of their primary guys, and then he just comes in and lights us on fire, and that's really the difference in the series.
Some of those shots were just ridiculous, and they're those you can't really, beat yourself up too much about.
Yeah, he's come back to earth this year. He has not had a good shooting season at all.
Yeah, he's in like the mid-low 30s, right?
Yeah, he's been like legitimately bad shooter this year. But the Heat have no interest in moving it, which I don't blame them. That would be a rash decision to get rid of somebody just because they're having a bad season after you know what they're capable of.
Yeah, I think they have a pretty good team built around them too. It's been the COVID year.
And I think exactly.
The Heat are not the same team as the Celtics, but a very similar team where you expected a lot for them, being in the Eastern Conference Finals and actually making the finals. But now you're kind of seeing them take a step back, and that's mainly because Jimmy Butler's played, a fraction of the season, and Bam Adebayo's been in and out consistency wise, and I don't know. It kind of just seems like they're in the same boat.
Yeah, Jimmy's not a very, very good shooter either. Like if Hero doesn't bounce back, they might be in trouble.
Yeah,
but they're playing well, so can't really knock them right now.
Yeah, totally. But I wanted to talk about Robert Williams a little bit because he's been so good as a starter. And I know we had this conversation before where we were kind of wondering if we should use him off the bench, if we should maximize his efficiency off the bench, or if we should put him in that starting role and really just let him run wild. And I think we know the answer.
Yeah, if you asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said keep him on the bench, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I probably would have said Grant, Tristan, even Mo Wagner you could put in there. And then I just really want to make sure that Robert Williams is healthy and we're maximizing him in the best way we can. But now we know the answer to that. He is very good as a starter. He's averaging almost 12 points per game, 10 rebounds, almost 5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 2.5 blocks. And by the way, he's shooting 73% from the floor.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's a small sample size. He's only played 5 games as a starter, but he's averaging 28 minutes, which before, when he was playing about 17, you can see that once we got him over that 25 minutes per game, we were unleashing the Time Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think him coming off the bench was really an issue. He was still having great performance after great performance. It was just now that he has more opportunity, you're seeing those stats rack up. But I think the biggest development is that his passing ability, which we saw glimpses of before. It's just we never ran the offense through him. So a lot of what the Celtics offense does is it's the first action usually starts with giving it to the center at the top of the key, and then if they have the ability to do that, like we did with Al Horford, was kind of give him the keys at the top there and let them kind of make a decision, let them distribute. And it's up until now, Rob hadn't proven that he was capable of doing that. Now they're letting him do it, and the offense looks awesome. So if he can continue doing that, there's no limits to him. Except I think he could also develop a 15-foot jumper, which would be unbelievable.
That was going to be my next point. I was going to say, whenever he catches the ball at like 15, 16 feet, he's usually got like 3 or 4 feet of space. So it's a matter of just shooting the ball and making that a point for the defense to watch out for so that they kind of push up on him. So then we can run another play. We can do a handoff and then get Kemba a wide open shot so we can get him going. Because that's another guy that we need to really get shots for. Like he's he's become an Evan Fournier type player, where you need to have him coming off screens and getting him wide open so he can get the rhythm.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to get too far off with Kemba, but I think it's important, and Robert Williams is the key to that.
Yeah, absolutely. If he can actually develop that shot, then defenses have to respect that space. Then they won't be able to play drop coverage as much, and then that's
it's
a real
almost like
problem.
the Ben Simmons thing, like with the Sixers. Ben Simmons usually has like 6 or 7 feet in front of him when he's up at the 3-point line. So it's just a matter of putting it up once or twice so that the defense has to think about it at least, gets them on their toes, and then you can blow by them even. Mm-hmm. It's just if you add it to your game, it's going to help you. It can't hurt you.
Yeah, and it looks like if that's the case, then Rob's just scratching the surface of what he's capable of doing. Then that just adds a whole different element to it. Because the only reason why I thought the Celtics needed another center, and it wasn't because Rob wasn't great, it was just because of his particular skill set.
Yeah.
Was the fact that he can't stretch the floor. But that's why Kornet, I think, has gotten his opportunity and why he's been good.
The Green Cornet.
Exactly. But it's just, it looks like Tatum likes to play with a center that can pop. It just like we've seen just with Kornet here, how many times he comes off a screen, Kornet pops, and then Tatum dishes him behind the back bounce pass, and he just pops.
Yeah,
it's a 3. Like that's happened a bunch of times, and it looks like Kemba and Tatum like to play that way because they like to have the space in front of them that if a roller is there, they're taking up the space, and they don't seem to play that well with it.
I like that. I like that we have those options. Because I like Kornet, like you said, as a pick and pop player, but then I love the fact that we have Robert Williams for guys like Peyton Pritchard and Marcus Smart, and even Jaylen Brown, that just like to get around a screen and then have that guy roll to the basket, and just have that as an option.
Yeah,
because I know Marcus Smart. He's always that type of player. He's just he's looking for the play to make.
Yep.
And when he sees Rob rolling to the basket, he can just throw it up there at any point. He knows that he's going to come down and throw that shit down.
Yep. Smart and Pritchard play incredibly well with Rob. It's just a style difference between those two guys, and Kemba and Tatum. So if he can figure out that 15-foot jumper, then if he could play the entire game, then there's no reason. That would be great if he could. Like, there's no reason to take him off the floor.
Real quick, we kind of touched on Marcus Smart. What do you think his biggest struggle is right now? Because offensively, we know that it's just not there. He hit a couple threes. I think he hit like 4 the other night, or yesterday against the Hornets.
Yeah,
which is a good sign. But I'm kind of worrisome for his future role with the team offensively with Evan Fournier on the squad now. I think it's gonna be tough for him to get the same type of shots, and we know that he's kind of a rhythm player where he has to hit that first shot or that second shot, and then he hits his heat checks or whatever. So what's your opinion on Marcus Smart right now?
The biggest thing I worry about with Smart right now, actually there are 2 things, one on each side of the ball. In the fourth quarter, his shooting percentages are horrible, and I don't know why. They are comically bad, actually. I mean, it's really, really concerning, and there's no reason for it to drop off like that from a quarter to quarter.
It's because I think it's really because he tries to get us back into the game, but like that's the thing. You need that guy. Because like when you're down 14, you need the guy to come in and just hoist up a 3, and if it goes in, that's going to start your run. But then once you're on that run and you cut it to 7, and then Marcus pulls up from 30 feet, and you're like, oh my god! And then all of a sudden, it's back to a 13-point lead. So you live and die by Marcus Smart, and that's the only way you can put it.
Yeah, he's been doing some things recently that I just don't understand.
Well, I mean, the whole team has been doing things that I can't stand. Like Jason Tatum with the foul calls, or like he's always screaming for fouls. Marcus Smart with the shot hoists. Grant Williams when he comes in and he just looks terrible on both ends of the floor. and then you just have to pull them. Guys like Kemba Walker, where he's wide open for three and he pulls up and it's just front iron, and you're like, dude, if you can just hit half the shots you put up, we are so much better as a team. So it's just like there's so many little things that each player has been doing this season that's just been getting under my skin. It's probably just the COVID year and just being unnecessarily frustrated with a team that shouldn't have had this high of expectations going in.
Yeah, I think people probably underestimated how much we were going to miss that wing depth from Gordon Hayward. But Marcus Smart, the other thing that Marcus Smart does that I think is just slipping a little bit this year is, one, his late game execution, and two, his ability to guard quick point guards now. Like a De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
That's a really hard time.
He was getting beat. But also his decision making, like he was getting like waxed on a backdoor cut. Yep. And I'm like, that's not Marcus.
Yeah, he's looked really weird the last couple of weeks or this season. It's just, I don't know if he's lost a step or his focus isn't there or what it is.
I think it's focus. I really do think it's focus. And he came out and said it like, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, where, he said, hey, look, like we're human. Like we will have bad days, and some days you can't do it.
Yeah, because
some game days you just don't feel that way. Like I can only imagine days when you guys go to work, the people that are listening, when you are driving to work and you're like, oh, this is just not a good day. Like, are you going to perform well at work? Probably not. You're probably going to take a step back. You're going to regress, and you're going to fall into old habits. So it's a matter of getting that confidence up and literally just having a good day. Like, we are all human.
Yeah, I hope that's all it is. But it is worrisome that it is consistently the same type of player that he struggles with. Mm-hmm. So I hope that he's not losing a step, but he still does just eat some guards for lunch, basically. Like against the Hornets here, with Terry being like his primary focus. After the first quarter, Marcus wasn't letting him get anything. So he still has it in him.
Do you know how many points Terry scored in the first quarter? Because I know he finished with like 22.
Yeah, he did end with 22. I think know he had 2 points in the second or third quarter, but I don't know how many exactly he had in the first.
Oh my God! Like
he slowed down significantly.
Yeah, but a guy I would really like to talk about, because we haven't seen him in a while. Most people thought he was a ghost. Romeo Langford.
Yeah.
Got some minutes last night. I think he played like 12 minutes.
Yes.
He hit 1 3. I think he was 1 for 4 from the field. Came up with a huge block, huge steal. So I really liked his energy. Loved him on the defensive end. The way he was moving on his feet, staying on his feet, and then just like on his one possession, he was able to block, or not almost block it, but he actually did block it at the rim. And then later on, he hits a 3, and I'm like, man, if he can do this consistently, there's no spot on the team for Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah, I put a poll out there earlier this week wondering who people thought was better and who they would rather have, Nesmith or Romeo. And it was actually pretty close.
I voted Romeo, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so did I. I think Romeo is a much better player.
Yeah.
Right now, the way that they're going to play him is probably a 3-and-D guy, similar to what the mold is going to be for Aaron Nesmith. But going forward in potential, Romeo is just a much better option. And we saw that against the Hornets in his debut. I actually wanted to read some stats about his defense, how he played on defense.
Please.
So when matched up against Romeo yesterday, or against the Hornets, Miles Bridges was 0 for 4. Jalen McDaniels was 0 for 2. Devontae Graham was 0 for 4. And Caleb Martin was 0 for 3.
So no one made a shot.
No one made a shot against him.
And when they got close at the rim, he got blocked. So.
Yeah, that was brave of him to go for that block, and it was incredible. He's so good, and I think he's a really crafty offensive player and could develop into somebody who can create his own shot and be a dynamic playmaker for the Celtics in the future, but that's not what he needs to be right now. but I think his biggest addition to the Celtics is going to be on defense. Because as of right now, the Jays are playing a ton of minutes and guarding some of the other team's best players. So if Romeo can come in 15 minutes a game and take that off their plate for a while, then the whole team, both sides of the ball, are just much better with the Jays feeling a little bit more refreshed. So
I think keeping the Jays fresh and ready for the playoffs, because we're gonna have a long go. I think each series that we play in the playoffs this year is going to be a bar fight. Like each series is going to go 6 or 7 games, and it's going to be a roller coaster.
Yep.
So having those two guys play maybe 30, 32 minutes a game for the rest of the season, as long as we can kind of stay within that 4th to 5th seed, because I mean our schedule has been pretty easy.
Especially second half.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting like the right guys, the right reps, and getting this like 7-8 man roster narrowed down for the playoffs. Just figuring out what works.
Yeah, we haven't even shortened the rotation yet, and
we barely played games with our starting 5, let alone figured out the right rotations for the playoffs.
That's fair.
Like, we finally have gotten our Kemba, Smart, Jalen, Jason, Rob. We've finally gotten that solidified starting 5. And now we're running with it. Now we're seeing what's going on, and we won 4 of our last 6. So I think it's definitely a point to be made.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like doomsday recently, or it has been. But if you zoom out a little bit, won 4 of the last 6. It's nice, but I do think the Jays are playing too many minutes before a rotation is even defined and shortened. Like Jason Tatum is playing 35 and a half minutes per game, and Jalen is just shy of 34, which isn't horrible. It is. Yeah. It's up there. I would rather it be around 32 for both of them. But I'm a big person. I don't think players should be run to the ground.
Yeah.
Throughout the regular season.
I think it's going to come down to if in the first half of the game, can Jalen and Jason bring the team up to 15-point lead at halftime, and then in the third quarter they run a little Romeo, a little bit of Grant here and there, a little Nesmith, and they can keep the lead. And that's been our problem all season long. When the Jays come out, we lose the lead, and then they have to come back in, and then they have to play 12 or 13 more minutes than they thought they had to.
Yep.
And it's been annoying, but it's something that's definitely going to improve with the addition of Romeo Langford. Like, he's been the forgotten name on this roster, and people forget he's a lottery pick, and he's going to bring some value to this team. He's just not healthy, and now that he is, we're going to see some short stints, and I think at the end of the day, Romeo Langford's he's really going to help out the Jays. He's going to be the additional key. He's the backup key to unlocking this offense. Fournier being key number 1, and Langford with 2.
Yes. I don't know how many minutes he would really take away from the Jays. Probably not many.
10 to 12 minutes is going to help us out.
Yeah, it is, but I just don't know where
3 minutes away from each of them.
Yeah, I don't know where those minutes are going to come from necessarily. I think it's more about how taxing those minutes are for the Jays instead of actually making that number go down as much. I think that's where it's going to be more than actually bringing those numbers down to where I want them to be around 32 minutes apiece. But either way, I think that would be huge for them, and adding another guy who can actually knock down a shot, so they don't get discouraged. And like you said, whenever they left the game, the lead that they worked so hard to get is gone.
And that's the worst part. They work so hard, and then they're tired, so they're like, all right, I'm going to come out. And then when they lose that lead, they have to come back in with that same energy that they were working so hard to build.
Yeah, very hard to ask that.
They have to work twice as hard to get that lead back, or at least build that lead up again. And it tires you out. Simple as that.
Absolutely. I don't blame them for getting frustrated. It's just irritating to watch when they do get frustrated. So I like the addition of these guys, and Romeo getting healthy, Fournier actually being an effective player.
Right.
It's huge. and I'm really excited about them going forward. I hope they've figured it out, even though they continue to drop games that they shouldn't. I hope that they can actually develop some sort of chemistry and become a winning team, move up to the middle of the Eastern Conference.
Well, the key to that is going to be this next 5-day stretch. We're recording this podcast on a Monday, but on Tuesday, the Celtics play the Sixers. And then we have a back-to-back with the Knicks, and then we're going to have a day off, play the Timberwolves, and then another day off and play the Nuggets. So we have 4 games in 5 days. What do you think for – well, first we'll start with the Sixers game. What are your expectations for the Sixers game? Because we saw somewhere that we might experiment with, benching Kemba and then playing him in the Knicks game. But I think it would be best if we have our full strength lineup against the Sixers. Really go all out, treat it as if it's a playoff game, and really see what this team can do when we're going 100%.
Yeah, I like the idea of seeing that, and Brad hasn't really done that in playing Kemba on the second night of a back-to-back instead of the first. So I would fully expect him to go down against the Sixers, but
yeah,
for me, I would rather him play against the Knicks. It would be nice to see him against the Sixers, but the reality of the situation is the Celtics are trying not to play in this in the play-in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sixers are the 1 seed right now, so we're not going to catch them. So the bigger game within the scope of this season is against the Knicks.
I think I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
So
Knicks are the 5 seed, right? 5. Yeah. I think
the Knicks. The Knicks are now the
it's
7
Heat,
seed
Hawks,
right now.
Yeah, Heat, Hawks, Knicks, us. Hornets are 6.
Yeah. Knicks are 7 right now. We're 8. Yeah. So I would rather see him play against the Knicks, considering the Knicks are the next team in front of us, and it looks like the Hornets are going to fall down now that Hayward's hurt. So if we can get above the Knicks and the Hornets come down, we're no longer in the play-in tournament. So that's the bigger
thing
game.
is, though, I think that without Kemba, we can beat the Knicks with Jalen and Jason. I'm not worried about that. So I think I'm actually more on the side of playing Kemba against the Sixers because I think the Knicks are a very manageable team. I think they're hot this year.
Yeah, well,
but I don't think they're hot enough where they can. Yeah, I don't think they're hot enough where we're gonna have. Well, actually, I think Kemba Walker played that game.
He did. It was like his second game, first or second game. It was
his first or second game back, and we got blown.
We got absolutely destroyed. We scored like 75 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like 100 something. Yeah. Oh man.
It was like middle of January, I think.
Mm-hmm. I just don't think that's gonna happen again.
So we're pretty far removed from it, but still, we're a team
completely different team. Literally, we're a different team now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't have Tice.
The thing is we're a team that has struggled with effort consistently, going up against a team on the second night of a back-to-back that always tries and is performing above their expectations this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Julius Randle's playing really well.
He is.
That's off to him.
If we're talking about minutes per game, that guy's playing 37.
Dude,
second in the NBA.
Do you expect anything less from Tom Thibodeau though?
No,
to run his superstar into the ground.
Yeah, I think he's a good coach, great motivator, but man, I hate that about him. What he did to Luol Deng should be a crime.
What he did to Derrick Rose.
Yeah, that's even
Luol
worse.
Deng, Joakim, he played all of his guys.
Did that again when he was with the Timberwolves. Every single one of those guys. I mean, they were pretty top heavy. They weren't a very good team, so it made some sense. But they were all at the top of the league in terms of minutes played.
Yeah,
I hate that he does that so much.
Yeah.
No. But anyway,
I won't be surprised if Julius Randle has not a season-ending injury, but something that comes up next year. Like with his knee or his ankle, like something in the lower half of his body that is just starting to shut down because he's been playing almost 40 minutes a game.
Yeah, I don't wish injury on
team
anybody. Obviously, it's
just
something's got to give if you're putting that many miles on your body.
Mm-hmm.
But go on.
Or something has to come out of it, and nothing's going to come out of this for the Knicks.
Yeah. So with the Sixers game, who do you think wins that, or how do you see it playing out?
So I guess the question is, are we going to get the Joel Embiid game where he shoots 40 free throws?
Probably.
Probably. This is going to be a really interesting game, so I have no idea what the outcome is going to be in terms of win or loss, but I know that we're going to get Jason Tatum this time. We didn't have him the last 2 times we played, and we lost by, I think, less than 10 in both games.
I think you're right.
I think it was like an 8-point loss the one time. It was like 4 the
other time.
Yeah,
I played him like 2 games in a row.
Yeah. So I think this game is going to be a tell for both teams in the legitimacy of the Sixers and where this Celtics team is at. So the pressure is not on us. I think it's really a show 'em game. It's going to be a really good game, and I'm excited to tune in. But I think if Kemba Walker plays, if Romeo Langford plays, if we have all of our guys full roster, Robert Williams starting, I think we have a really good chance to beat this team. And I think if I had to put a number to it, 115, 109, Celtics win.
115, 109?
Yeah, behind a big Jason Tatum game.
Okay.
Big Jason Tatum game, pretty good Jaylen Brown game. It's going to be one of those 30-something from Tatum, 28 from Brown. It's going to be a good game.
I agree that it's going to be a good game, but I think we're going to lose.
I could see it happening too. It always down the stretch, something happens.
So here's the thing: is that Joel Embiid is still not playing back the second night of back-to-backs, which just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't play their last game. He's going to be rested. He's going to come in and probably try to get those 40 free throws that he always gets against the Celtics. And I think it's going to come down to how well Jason Tatum plays, like you said, and if Rob can keep him out of the post. If he gets down low, Rob can alter his shots when he's really anywhere else on the floor. It's just once he's on the block. Once he's on the block, it's over. Rob's probably going to foul him.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting thing. Like, what is the foul game going to look like for Robert Williams? Because we obviously want to preserve him for as long as we can in a game. But we're going to need to have a guy on Joel Embiid, and Tristan, I don't think he's going to be there. So
yeah, no, it doesn't look like it. It's going to be close though. He might be back.
Mo Wagner against Joel Embiid is going to be fun.
Oh, Joel Embiid would destroy him.
No, but I think
horribly.
He will destroy him. But I think the mental game that Mo Wagner is going to play, I think he's going to get in his face. He's going to use his fouls, and I love that.
Try to take some charges and get under his skin. It's like his only hope. That psychological warfare is all that Mo has against Embiid, if you even want to give that to him. But I think another person to talk about on the Sixers is Ben Simmons. I saw some interesting stats on him recently, since the All-Star break. So before the All-Star break, he was averaging 17 points on 60% shooting. And now he's averaging under 13 points on 45.5% shooting. And within 8 feet of the rim, he's only shooting 49%, down from 63%. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, give Ben Simmons his own team. Give him his own team, and I'm sure he'll win them some games.
But Ben Simmons is really struggling right now, and if he continues to struggle at the same time that Tatum plays well, then the Celtics could steal this game. But I think Embiid's going to come in and probably beat us. I'm going Sixers by 7.
Who are you worried about on the Sixers outside of Joel Embiid? Because personally, I'm not worried about anyone on that team outside of Joel. And then Seth Curry, if he gets hot and remains hot. But in a 7-game series, I don't see him being consistently, every game he's putting up 20. Tobias also putting up 20 every game. Ben Simmons with 15, and then Embiid with 40. I just don't see it happening every night.
I mean, I don't either. But Tobias and Seth Curry, to answer your question, I'd be worried about them most because they can hit 3-pointers, and as we know, the Celtics can't guard the 3-point line this season. So if Embiid's down low, gets himself in the block, can get other people in foul trouble and score from there, and then if he needs to kick it out to an area that we can't defend, then we're in a lot of trouble.
What's your outlook on a Sixers-Celtics series in the first round? If for some reason it's 1 versus 8, and we are the 8 seed. What's your outlook?
I mean, I can tell you right now, I'd rather play them than the Nets.
Definitely.
In that series, though, if the Celtics can play the way that they played against the Hornets, then I actually would probably take the Celtics in that series. I know a lot of people would say I'm insane, but I would take the Celtics. But if we're talking about the Celtics that we've come to know this season, then the Sixers probably winning that in 6 games.
So Celtics in what?
I would go Celtics in 7. And not as much as a toss-up. Sounds like when people say their team in 7, it's just like toss-up, and then you let your fandom come into it. But I think the Celtics would be proved to be the better team in that series.
No, I have actually Celtics in 5.
Oh.
I don't.
Oh, wow.
I think the Sixers are actually pretenders.
Okay.
The Nets are the only team in the East I'm worried about. The Bucks, I think we can beat in 7 games. Giannis, no. I honestly think that the Sixers, they match up with us well as a team that can beat us if everything goes well for them. But I still think that we're the better team. We have more star power. I think defensively we're a better team. Or offensively we're a better team. Defensively they have the edge, but I think at the end of the day, star power is going to win, and I'll take Jason, Jalen, Joel, and Ben.
That's fair. So you're taking the Celtics in the Sixers game. I'm taking the Sixers. Who do you got for the Knicks? Let's get through the rest of this week.
So Sixers, that's going to be a win. Knicks game, I'm going to go with a loss, just because I think this 4-game stretch is going to be 3-1. Okay. And at first I was kind of toss up between the Sixers and the Knicks, but I think if what I'm saying, if we're playing full strength, we're playing 100%, I think that we're going to win the Sixers game, lose the Knicks game because we kind of exhausted our strengths there in a back-to-back. And then we're going to win against the Timberwolves. And then the Nuggets game is going to be another one of those toss-up games, but I think, it's going to be tough. We're playing Aaron Gordon. Celtics Twitter is going to be irate if Aaron Gordon has a better game than Evan Fournier.
For sure.
But I think we're going to come out on top on that one too. So 3-1 for this next 5-day stretch.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think they're going to go 2-2.
2-2.
Losing to the Sixers and the Nuggets. So
we win the games we should, and we lose the games we should.
Yeah. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds boring.
Yeah, it does.
But the Knicks is a trap game, second night of a back-to-back, and they are a team that tries very hard, and we struggle with effort consistently, like I said. So I'm worried about that game, but I think we win it, exercise our demons from the last time. We win. The Timberwolves are better than the Rockets, even though I think they have a worse record right now. But the Timberwolves are better than them. That's the only team they can say that about. But they stink. They're not good. As long as Celtics can stop Cat, probably, then they'll be fine. Even if they don't, he's going to try to win it by himself. It's just not going to happen.
A quick side note. I always see this on Twitter. Do you want Karl-Anthony Towns on the Celtics?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think he's shown some times where he can be soft, but right. I think he is a really good player in possibly in the worst situation possible.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't be in a worse situation than play in Minnesota. And I've always seen the comparison to KG was in a bad situation. He wasn't that bad because he was at least winning some games, but he was in a bad situation, and then he gets moved over to the Celtics. So people want to see that happen again, and they want history to repeat itself.
I'm not a huge fan of players moving to bigger markets for the sake of moving to bigger markets. I hate that. I just think the Timberwolves are probably an exception to that rule, where they are just so dysfunctional, and it's just a waste of time for him to be there. I
guess I can't see the fit with this current team. I just don't know who you're going to give up to have him on your team, because I guess it would have to be Rob, probably Kemba, maybe, sure. But
watch him. I don't think we'd end up being the team that gets him. Yeah. If he becomes available, I think the Hornets are going to go after him really hard. They would be a really good team with him.
Dude,
But
that
anyway,
would be a really good team actually. LaMelo,
yeah, incredible.
Rozier, Hayward,
They,
even some Bridges in there. Yeah.
yeah, they'd be a good team
Cat.
for the better part of a decade. So,
Mhm.
but I think the Celtics win that game, beat the Knicks. The Nuggets game was really hard for me because I think that's a real toss-up game, and that's going to come down to Jason Tatum. Because
We
for the
always
person
play very close games with them, I feel.
we do, but they're different. Like we're different.
Mhm.
Aaron Gordon on that team is exactly what they needed, exactly what they paid for. He has been great for them, especially on the defensive end. So he's the guy who would be covering Tatum. So if Tatum can break that, then the Celtics can win that easy. But if they play the way that they've been playing and Jokic does what he did last time, then that's where the Celtics lose. But that's going to be a winnable game that I think we lose.
Yeah, I think by themselves, all 4 of these games are winnable. But when you add context in with the back-to-back and then the addition of Aaron Gordon, it's going to be an interesting stretch. But we've won 4 of our last 6, so can we make this 8 of our last 10?
Yeah,
that's what we need to happen. But
so to recap,
it's just a matter of if everything can come together. But recap,
you're going Celtics beat the Sixers, lose to the Knicks, beat the Timberwolves, and beat the Nuggets.
Right? Yeah, beat the Nuggets with an asterisk mark because
and
anything can happen in that game.
Yeah, I'm going lose to the Sixers, beat the Knicks, beat the Timberwolves, lose to the Nuggets. We'll see we'll see who's right.
Mm-hmm. What's nice is that we have a day off between the Knicks and the Wolves, and then a day off between the Wolves and the Nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we at least will have Kemba for 3 of the 4 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but we'll see who's right.
Yeah, we will see who's right. But that's a great point to wrap up the show. Thank you for listening. Tune in every week because we may be doing some giveaways soon. So please stay tuned. Wink. Jeff, it's been fun. Do you want to drop some social media handles or?
Yes, please follow us on the Celtics Journal on Instagram and Celtics Journal on Twitter. We'll be posting a lot of polls and seeing what people's opinions, live tweets during games. Please give us a follow.
Yeah, and we also just launched our YouTube channel as well, so check us out there, and wherever you get your podcasts as well. So thanks for listening.